Mario Kart. Is it fair to criticize a game that sold 25 million copies? As a port? I don't know, probably not to be honest. But at the same time, while Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has sold boatloads of copies, I feel like in some ways it isn't as exciting or interesting as other Mario Kart games. Sure, it's very well made and plays very smoothly, but in a lot of ways it feels like it's missing the wild action and unpredictability of older Mario Kart games. The tracks aren't as weird or wacky, and in everything but 200cc, once you get it down, it's almost hard to mess up. Even though you can see my gameplay footage might say otherwise. But I have excuses for that, okay? It's hard to record footage and play at the same time, and then I accidentally had the thing on where he's like, helps you steer. I don't know, it didn't help me, okay? There are much fewer instances of weird shortcuts, unique ideas, and flying stupidly off the track on Wario's Gold Mine because you hit a stinking bat and you tilted the Wii remote just a little too much and it flipped over to turn the other way and you lost the race and you hate your life. But isn't that part of what makes Mario Kart so interesting? Have the recent Mario Kart games become too neat and controllable, and has the series on the whole become too bland and basic? Hello all 2,350 of you, I'm Redkwan, and has Mario Kart become too safe? So first of all, what exactly do I mean by safe? Is it safe in the way that they aren't trying enough new things, or safe in the way that it's literally too easy to not fall off the track? And you might think it's just the first one because that's the only one that makes sense, but honestly, it's kind of both. The second one just would have made a really lame video by itself. But yes, I think Mario Kart may have a problem of not having enough unique and weird ideas, as well as the fact that it's literally pretty easy to stay on the track now. I'm sorry, I took Wednesday off and now I don't know what I'm doing anymore, and it's this whole thing. So let's start off with the stupid literal interpretation of the question and get that out of the way. Is Mario Kart, in the past entry or two, too easy? Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, as well as Mario Kart 7 from the little that I've played of it, are fairly easy games. If you're racing against computers, it's really not very difficult at all to win most of your races, and when you don't, it's rarely because of driving mistakes. It's almost always because you get slammed with shells at the end of the third lap. You might think that's how Mario Kart has always been, but I don't think that's really true. Mario Kart Wii was a lot less forgiving, especially with the motion controls, and Double Dash can be brutal sometimes. I'm not saying Mario Kart should be this ridiculously tough game, although we do all want that of course, but Mario Kart 8 rarely makes you feel at risk of losing because of a mistake you've made. It comes down to the items a lot more than it does your driving. The gameplay is really nice and usable, but I think at some points it almost feels like you have too much control. Does anyone understand what I'm saying? Am I speaking nonsense? Well, this was kinda tacked on to begin with, so I guess it doesn't really matter. It's just that I feel like the older Mario Kart games made the driving itself more intense, and the newer Mario Kart games are a little too forgiving. Don't worry, I'm moving on now. So then, what about the games themselves? Are Mario Kart games too similar from entry to entry? And are the recent Mario Kart games trying less interesting ideas? And I think the answer here is probably yes. Mario Kart 7 had gliding and all that sort of thing, which was new but not especially interesting. Gliding takes a lot less effort than driving, and it doesn't really change too much about the gameplay. And Mario Kart 8 added anti-gravity, which is a cool idea in theory, but it also really doesn't change up the gameplay very much. It only really comes into play in how cool the courses themselves look, which isn't all that important. I'm just gonna say it. The motion controls in Mario Kart Wii were a very different way to play Mario Kart, and it made it feel like a completely different type of experience. And the two characters in one kart thing in Double Dash was a big deal as well for the gameplay. Those Mario Kart games had some unique ideas, while the past Mario Kart or 2 haven't really done anything crazy. And it's not just in the main gimmicks either. The newer games, in general, seem to have fewer shortcuts and fewer interesting track features, like shaking bridges, half-pipes, or alternate paths. There are still some of those things in Mario Kart 8, but there aren't nearly as many, and they don't play nearly as big of a part in the gameplay. Mario Kart Wii wasn't perfect, and Mario Kart 8 is definitely a higher quality game. But I feel like Mario Kart Wii's tracks are still more memorable, even if Mario Kart 8 has been out twice now. And I think it's because, in general at least, they're a lot more interesting design-wise. Maybe this is something everyone already thinks, or maybe this is something that nobody agrees with. I really don't know, I don't research these things, I'm too lazy. But I do think Mario Kart has become a little bit too safe. And while Mario Kart 8 is very high quality and polished, it doesn't feel quite as interesting or exciting as the old Mario Karts. And while Mario Kart 8 is better in some ways, I think this is one of the things that the older games actually did better. I think Mario Kart should be less safe, in both ways, even the stupid one, and I would like to see what Nintendo can do to bring that back a little bit. The problem is, I feel like this is partially just because they made the controls for 8 too good. It's too easy to control Pink Gold Peach when you're zipping around, and it's probably a dumb request to ask Nintendo to make their controls worse so that it's more exciting. I really don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. I guess I'm just saying that Mario Kart is a little less wild than it used to be, and in some ways I feel like the new games, even if they're very polished, are a little bit boring. The tracks are less interesting, the gameplay is more controlled, and there's no third thing. Those are the two complaints. I'm done now. Well, I'm Redkwan. Do you think Mario Kart has become a little too safe? What does that even mean? Did any of this make sense? This is what happens when you run out of ideas, kids, and miss your Wednesday video. Let this be a lesson to you all. Anyways, I'm Redkwan, thank you all for watching, and I'll hopefully see you all later. Goodbye.